all. Welcome to another episode of Old Men Yell at the Cumulonimbus Cloud.
Okay.
I'm Jim Schultz, and as always with me is Christopher Brown.
Yep.
And Patrick S. Berry.
Wow.
Today we're going to be doing 1980s Heaven and Hell Black Sabbath featuring Ronnie, James, Dio. And today as our guest, my good friend Greg Smith. He's been in some metal bands. He's a metalhead. When I have a metal question, he's the guy I'm going to go to. So
thanks, man. I'm excited to be here. I didn't tell you guys upstairs. That was the fifth time that I listened to that album today. Jesus. Jimmy sent me a message this morning, and he's like, "Hey, man, we might need you for the podcast." I was like, "All right, cool." And then he sent me. I didn't read the whole thing. All I saw was Heaven and Hell.
yeah,
And everything just like
Greg immediately
the
shot
world,
in his pants.
The world disappeared. The earth split. Ronnie James Dio came out of the mist, and he was holding his metal horn.
Which you're actually doing right now.
And Neon Knight started screaming from the heavens, and I was like, dude.
He's wearing his fucking Dio shirt
I put my
now.
Dio shirt on.
See, I was picturing like
I'm
Jim.
so fucking excited.
Picture Jim calling you up and you being like, "Sorry, I can't hear you over the sound of me rocking out to Heaven and Hell for the fifth time
Yep.
today. What do you need me for? Oh, you need me to listen to Heaven and Hell?
That was
Sure.
that was the fifth time. I started my notes at like 9:30 in the morning.
Took the day off.
I was ready to go.
Lost his
Awesome.
job today over this fucking show.
Yeah. So I appreciate that. And
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
That's dedication.
Yeah.
All right, Heaven and Hell, 1980. A little bit of an overview here. The initial sessions for what became the Heaven and Hell album actually began with Ozzy Osbourne after Black Sabbath's Never Say Die tour, when the band moved to Los Angeles for 11 months in an attempt to record a new album, a process that guitarist Tony Iommi described in his autobiography as highly frustrating, never-ending process. In his own autobiography, Osbourne states that he had become fed up with the experimentation on the band's previous album, Technical Ecstasy, and Never Say Die, preferring the band's earlier heavy sound, but also admits it was clear they'd had enough of my insane behavior.
Yeah, there was a lot of weird shit going on those last two Ozzy albums. I seem to remember a saxophone and even a song where fucking Bill Ward sang.
yeah.
Goodness
Technical
gracious.
Ecstasy, that's the one that like all the elitist dudes are like, "You guys are crazy, that album's sick." It's like, no,
So-
dude, there's nothing sick
Yeah,
about
there's
that album.
nothing to that album.
I was telling Jim on the drive down that I really like Technical Ecstasy.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
Yeah, this is the same guy whose favorite Neil Young album is Trans, okay?
Yeah. I don't like that album.
No, so I heard Technical Ecstasy at the right time, which was hungover in the middle of the night while being driven in a car to the Jersey Shore.
It's not bad. It's just like when you think of Black Sabbath and you put that album on, it's like, this is Black Sabbath? You sure you put the right album on?
It's a weirdo album of theirs for sure. I recognize that is the case, that it's not like a normal Sabbath album, but I have a soft spot for it.
Yeah.
All right, continuing. In his memoir, Iommi revealed that he still has a tape featuring Osbourne singing an early version of what would become the song Children of the Sea with a different lyric and totally different vocal melody. Ronnie James Dio was...
Sorry, just in my head I thought, like, oh, I got something for this. Crazy! Just everything he tried to write with them was
sure.
Crazy Train.
Ronnie James Dio was first introduced to
Pictured that one
Iommi
for a while.
in 1979 by Sharon Arden, who would later marry the band's then recently fired vocalist Osbourne. Initially, Dio and Iommi discussed forming a new band rather than continuation of Black Sabbath. The pair met again by chance at the Rainbow on Sunset Strip in Los Angeles later that year. Both men were in similar situations, as Dio was seeking a new project and Iommi required a vocalist. Said Dio of the encounter, "It must have been fate, because we connected so instantly. The pair kept in touch via telephone until Dio arrived at Iommi's Los Angeles house for a relaxed getting-to-know-you jam session." So they jerked each other off.
Yeah.
On that
That's
first
what
day,
you mean by jam.
Yeah. On that first day, the duo finished the song Children of the Sea, a song Iommi had abandoned prior to Osbourne's firing.
I don't know what he kept singing something about trains in it.
Yeah, he was really pushing for that for a while. Just waiting for the right fucking song to sing it over, and sure enough.
Yeah, but so this is the the lineup here, but just minus Ozzy.
Yeah.
So Geezer Butler, Bill Ward, Tony Iommi.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that.
Fucking deal.
Yeah.
Everyone sounds fucking great.
So general Sabbath question here, and I'm guessing I'm gonna have to look in your direction for this. Is this the first time that they really had like vocal harmonies to speak of?
All right. So I have a very unpopular opinion.
Okay.
On Black Sabbath.
They suck.
I do like Black Sabbath, but the unpopular opinion is that Ronnie James Dio is way better than Ozzy Osbourne.
Okay, he's
technically much better.
So
yes.
there's two sides. So Ozzy fits what Black Sabbath is better than Ronnie James Dio.
Well, I was saying to Chris on the way down too. This album's kind of like it's a Dio album featuring Tony Iommi, Bill Ward, and
right?
Geezer Butler.
Yeah.
So Ozzy fits what Black Sabbath set up and like intended to do, but to say Ozzy Osbourne is better than Ronnie James Dio talent-wise is almost not even an opinion.
No,
it's
that's
just like
ludicrous.
a silly.
And I think it's important to note that I think the sort of success of this album, both critically and commercially, is definitely because they were actually mirroring and maybe even possibly setting metal trends of that year.
For sure.
So they weren't mired down in what they were doing in the early 70s. They were kind of keeping up with the new wave of British heavy metal trend.
Exactly. And because this was the first album, like you said, Ozzy didn't always write his own lyrics.
Right.
So Dio composed every single vocal pattern lyric on this.
I was going to say,
album.
he didn't have Sharon! Sharon, write this song for me!
Not Geezer wrote all his lyrics, so this kind of freed up Geezer to fucking kick ass all over this album.
Exactly, dude.
Well, Ozzy just sings whatever riff Tony Iommi writes.
Absolutely. He just sings the pattern of the riff.
And Dio actually writes the fucking melody.
Dio intertwines and his melodies and his... He's
Dio uses his voice as an instrument.
Absolutely. He's one of a kind. Was one of a kind.
Yeah, and Ozzy's dime a dozen.
Yeah.
Sharon!
Too funny.
All right, let's go around the horn. Let's do the favorite song. Let's Patrick.
My favorite song was "Walk Away." Kind of an odd choice, I think, but it's the one that sort of connected with me the most. It just was like rhythmically super fun, just like a good like kick-ass little rock song with like everybody's like doing their part and doing it really well, and it's a bun shaker.
Yeah,
it's a bun shaker.
It's a bun shaker.
I did kind of note that this was kind of the more straightforward rock song.
Yeah,
and I felt like the beginning kind of reminded me of like the Fly-By-Night Rush era kind of guitar.
Yeah, it's like way more like melodic and less like Phrygian, I guess.
I felt like there was some like Boston riffage going on towards the
Yeah.
bridge area too during that one.
Oh, totally. Yeah, it just like was a fun song and like very, very well written. I like the choruses were super simple but catchy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good shit.
Super catchy, dude.
Yeah, this and Lady Evil I thought were kind of the straightforward and in my notes
The cock
safe
rockers.
rock songs on the album.
Right.
Yeah, I'm almost surprised that neither of them were released as singles. They were like probably the most straight ahead, but I guess not like representative of what the band was about.
Yeah, and back then singles actually were kind of representative of what was going on.
Yeah,
Right.
I guess from a marketing standpoint, the more Black Sabbath-y songs would make more sense.
As opposed to now or even like, within the last 20 years where you see like this Nosferatu-looking Billy Corgan coming out with like black makeup around his eyes singing Ava Adore and then being like, come listen to this album. And then you listen to it and it's like Billy folk, like guitar.
Right,
playing.
dude. Right. Right.
I don't like that Billy Corgan. He's a creep. I don't like the
surprised
way
he
he
hasn't-
looked at my cats.
I'm surprised he hasn't been accused of anything yet. Seems like
I
He's too
think
busy accusing everybody else of everything.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, no, I think Corgan I think he's actually too fucked up to be that fucked up.
Yeah.
Oh,
If that makes
absolutely.
sense.
He's just fucking sitting in his fucking room watching like VHS tapes he recorded of WWF back in the day.
I picture him drinking milk all the time as an adult. Like, you know, like he drinks a fucking glass of milk with dinner.
So
Wait, what's wrong with that?
He doesn't. Well, he's apparently never really drank alcohol or anything or done drugs. But there is, if you get the chance, check out on YouTube. There's a fantastic documentary that's behind the scenes of their 2007 quote unquote reunion and like them playing shows and shit. And the camera follows Billy one day from when he wakes up to doing God knows whatever it is that he does the rest of his day. You don't need to know about that. What you need to know is that he wakes up, exits his bed in his full-length bed shirt. Like, talking Ebenezer Scrooge style.
With like a nightcap?
I don't remember if there was a nightcap, but he had
like a candle.
he had the full gown. But then like a handler came over to him and handed him a plate of vegetables, raw vegetables. And he just sat there eating it, and he's just like crunching on like a raw carrot, and he's like, yummy.
God, he sucks.
It's weird it's weird that does not surprise me at all.
And then someone asked him, they're like, so on this tour, you haven't been playing songs like Mayonnaise or things that were co-written with James. You know, is there a reason for that? He's like, I'll play that right now. And he just gives them this look of disgust, doesn't look at his guitar, and just starts strumming the riff to Mayonnaise as he stares them down.
He's a weird dude.
I can do it. Watch me do it.
He's a big Sabbath and Dio fan, too.
I was just gonna say he's a huge like doom metal, like crazy sick like doom metal fan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's his guitar skills definitely show he listens to all the greats.
My favorite song was "Lonely Is the Word."
It's a long way to nowhere, and I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Lonely is the night.
That is how a fucking rhythm section should enter a song, right there. That is a pretty good thing. Everyone in the band is on. Geezer, like I said before, is just fucking bringing it on home for everyone. Vocal performance is probably Dio's strongest of the album.
I was just gonna say all caps. I have Dio's vocals.
I wrote
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the first part of the solo that Iommi was doing, it sounded like he was playing it with his fingers, even though it was distorted. He had that super like kind of creaminess to it.
I mean, like his half fingers.
Yeah, his tips.
Well, that's on his fretting hand, not on his plucking.
Oh,
hand.
this is right.
Okay.
True.
And it was probably the most Sabbathy song in this. Like when I think of Black Sabbath, like during that big long solo part, there wasn't a rhythm guitar happening. The drums were fucking filling up a ton of the space with the bass, and the vocals weren't anywhere to be found. It was
a good classic dirge tempo, which is like that was kind of the first example of that on the album.
Yeah.
I wrote my first note here is the beginning. It just sounds like I'm gonna start a bar fight riff. You're sitting there listening. What the fuck did you just say to me?
Yeah.
I wanted to like the drums on this record. Bill Ward's drums. This is probably the best produced sound that I've ever heard Bill Ward play.
In "Lonely Is the Word," even that the snare particularly is like cranked and slammy.
Everything
and
is super
beautiful.
crisp. I guess Martin Birch is the guy who produced this album, and he's sort of noted for his use of bright mid range. And it definitely has a nice. It's like not too like it definitely emphasis on the mid range and like not too overpowering.
It's probably his best drum performance, I would say, as well.
Yeah, just super solid, not too busy.
Yeah, because I can't get over how fucking tight he was across this entire
Super
album,
tight,
considering he was apparently in the throes of like fucking horrific alcoholism while making this album.
Yeah.
And I just don't know how you can keep your shit together like that to fucking play drums like that when the rest of your life is in disarray.
The stars align.
Yeah, exactly.
For this album, dude.
Mr. Vinnie Paul, rest in peace.
Right.
There was a video of this is probably why he's dead right now, but there's a video of Vinnie Paul just completely fucking annihilated to the point where he can barely walk. And his drum tech like walks him over to the drum kit. He can barely walk, and he just gets behind the drum kit and plays fucking flawlessly. It's like,
man. But one story to interject real quick. I was like a senior in high school, and like playing with these like two kids in a fucking jam band. It was fucking stupid, but whatever. the kid was like rich or whatever, so he had a big house and he would like throw parties all the time. And like, you know, Dad had a drum set in the basement that I was allowed to fucking rip up all the time.
Rich kids are the ones that start bands with. Man.
Oh yeah, for sure. Good gear.
My first good death metal band. The guitarist his parents were like super rich, so we always had like cool shit to jam on. We always had like the sickest shows, and it was I know what you mean.
Oh yeah, totally. Cool. So anyway, so he's throwing a party at his place one night, and I was also like sick with the cold or something like that, and I had taken some Benadryl, and then like went to the party, and then like started chugging vodka, and just
good idea.
Talent juice.
Yeah, and I got like really fucked up and definitely like threw up on the drum set as I was playing.
That's rough.
Yeah, that was a rough evening, and no one was looking out for me that night. Greg, okay, sorry.
Did you have another cool?
Sure?
That was a good story though. If you have another one.
Oh, I mean,
Cool story,
one
bro.
of the other kids who like fucking passed out at that party had his nose like completely painted black with black Sharpie.
Yeah,
and he had to like go to work. I always thought that was funny.
Mr. Barry, tell me another story.
that was a good one, dude. Puke on the drum set. I like that one. Dude.
Yeah, Patrick's gonna be that old guy. Like, one time.
One time.
As if realistically, that's not what this is slowly devolving into in general.
Oh, this is a support group for 30-year-olds, isn't it?
All right, Greg, what's your
fucking
favorite,
Gen
favorite
Zers.
track?
So yeah, dude, this was tough. Like I said, it took me 5 listens. But I think Die Young. Is
Yeah.
every Neon Nights right off the bat kicks you in the balls, and like I was saying earlier, I wish I could have been alive at that time when this was coming out to know Sabbath's
To get that
career,
kick in the balls.
to know Sabbath's career up until that point, and like they fire him, like everybody was, what the hell are they doing? And then they release this album with Dio, and the first track is just slams you with that punk speed.
Hey, that's my word.
Easy now.
Oh, that's right.
He's got that shit trademarked.
but it just punches you in the gut, and it's got that punk, like that early punk, like super fast, like super quick. So I was gonna say Neon Nights, and like I said, if you haven't heard the Anthrax cover of Neon Nights, it's Joey Belladonna sounds. If I said they took Dio's vocals and just remastered them and put them in the Anthrax cover, you'd probably believe me. It's like that close. It's so sick.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But I think Die Young is my favorite. The riffs on that one are insane. Tony Iommi's solo on that one is insane. And the Live for Today, Tomorrow Never Comes, that line just plays over and over in my head. It's like, man, that one gets me going.
We don't get a lot of lyric references on this show, so
Yeah, that's good.
So
Yeah,
that, I mean,
dude, and the delivery on that line, it's just like you can tell he means it. Live for today, tomorrow never comes.
Dude,
yells
he
it
could
at
say
you.
whatever the fuck he wants.
Yeah.
I would believe it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I made
Exactly.
a note on here. Ronnie James Dio is the only person who could sing about fucking anything and make it epic. He's singing about a fucking wishing well and wishing well.
Oh, I'll get to that.
I had another note that Dio is the only vocalist I can think of that can get away with going ooh on like a metal song, or like yeah, like that's like when Dio does that, it's like that's fucking Dio.
What you just did, like, I can hear the Dio in it, and if you put a metal track under it, Dio could pull that off. However, if you put the instrumental for "I Want It That Way" underneath that, for a normal person singing, it fits in context.
Exactly. So it's like a metal dude to be able to pull off oohs and yeahs,
Yeah.
and like have them be badass,
Yeah.
and like pump you up.
Totally.
That's like unheard of.
Yeah, I mean, all of his, like, even his, like, super smooth stuff is, like, really tastefully done.
It is.
I think he, like, really has one of the more, like, appealing metal voices.
So
Oh, for
good,
sure.
man.
Yeah.
Like,
So good.
versus, like, you know, like a Rob Halford or Bruce Dickinson.
right.
Like, his voice is just, like, particularly just really appealing.
It
to me.
is.
Very well
it is.
suited for the
Yeah.
for the application.
So
Yeah,
good.
exactly. He's just, like, he's the man for the job.
He really is. He's so good.
James, what's your favorite?
My favorite track is going to be the title track, Heaven and Hell. And I put a smiley face and I put a little speech bubble that says, "It's got everything."
It does. It does.
It's got a sick ass riff. It's almost like the beginning's almost kind of like Holy Diver, in a way. And then the very first verse is just drum, bass, and vocal, which is awesome.
That was weird to have like the quiet,
So
loud,
good.
quiet,
Yeah.
like sort of grunge
And,
dynamic in
it-
the Sabbath context.
Yeah, and it just really like showcased Dio, and then like this thing's got some guitar swelling going on in there.
Man.
Like I said before, Dio's voice is like it's being used as an instrument. There's some slamming tom fills coming
there
out
it
of
is.
the bridge.
That's a slam.
There's guitar effects, and then there's that tempo change at the end, and it just turns into this
that
epic
crazy,
driving fucking solo.
Yeah.
And then you know, Geezer Butler's doing all these cool like bass licks. And then it's just got this soft guitar picking, like fade out outro. It's got everything you could ever want.
You know, like a lot of times with four pieces,
It's like a super target.
a lot of times with like 4-piece bands, you know, that you're sort of tempted to layer a bunch of guitars, but they're really making like good use of, you know, what the band would sound like as a 4-piece,
Right,
like
sure.
IRL
Well,
on this record. There's a lot of, you know, like him just like soloing, just shredding over Geezer Butler.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
And
so-
even with Dio's vocals, there's not that much vocal layering happening because
Not a
he
lot.
He doesn't need it.
Not really, no.
Yeah.
It'd
Yeah,
be
he-
like redundant to double track it.
Yeah, he's not double tracking at all. He's doing some harmonies, and he's
Right.
fucking nailing those
Dude,
when he does
yeah.
them.
His harmonies. That's one of my favorite things about Dio is the harmonies he writes, and he like interlaces them with the riffing, and it's just like Jim, you said maybe before we started that he's like another instrument.
Right. There's I forget what song it was. In Die Young, there's like a little bit of a vocal and guitar call and response thing happening that was
And
pretty cool.
One of my favorite things about Dio, and even because I've done like death metal and like grindcore and like black metal vocals for like 10, 12 years or whatever, but Dio was always one of my biggest influences because he lets the tracks breathe, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like you notice those insanely catchy riffs, and you notice all that stuff because he sits back when he needs to. So he lets you get a taste of that riff before he comes soaring over the top.
He's a
of them.
very musical vocalist.
Yeah, and
he's very in tune with the
yes,
music.
and
Yeah,
even,
he's serving the song.
right, and even in death metal, I would always do that. Like I would give a measure or two of guitars and like let it get embedded in your head, and then I'd come blasting in with it, and that was one thing I always took from Dio because he's so good at it.
Patrick, least favorite song.
Uh-oh.
All right. So I think to this album's credit, there really isn't like any clunkers on this album. I think I mean, spoiler alert, I don't love this album, but I kind of feel like every track was very well done. If I had to pick one, it would probably be Die Young. Yeah, I know, dude. It happens
Literally
all the
clutching his
time on
heart.
this show. No, hear me out. And it was the song that I took a shit during, and I really liked the intro of it, and then I kind of felt like I was like cheated out of a different style of song when it kind of went into this more fast-paced
Yeah, I
thing.
can see that.
The
I felt like
the
it-
beginning
I-
was very
yeah.
Pink Floyd-ish.
Yeah,
Right.
and I was kind of waiting for a more like ambient song to come up on this record, and I'd already heard the fast thing, and like kind of just wanted to hear something else, and I don't know. I felt like blue balled.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's a servable enough track. I just had to pick one.
Right.
I'm surprised you went with Die Young. I mean, we were talking about Wishing Well, and you said you'd get to that, so I thought you were going to pick Wishing Well.
Oh no, I'm full of surprises.
Christopher?
I'm kind of in the same boat where this isn't my favorite album in the world, but I really enjoyed it, and I don't think there was a clunker either. I'm going to go with Lady Evil.
You guys are gonna kill me, dude.
Just because I think that it's the safest song on it. It's very kind of just blues rocky. Everyone's fucking pulling their weight here. Geezer is once again like a fucking man possessed behind that bass guitar. And to the point where, like, kind of like you were saying, where there's not a lot of rhythm guitar or anything like that on this album. This is one of the songs where there was rhythm guitar on it, and I was listening to it, and I'm like, this actually is kind of cluttering things up. Like, let Geezer fucking have his moment here, because he's holding shit down, and that's, I don't know, I was just kind of distracted by it.
Yeah, kind of
That makes sense,
foreigner-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, so Lady Evil.
Is that your final answer?
I'd like to phone a friend.
Yeah, I'd like to phone a friend.
Sorry to hijack that joke from you.
Who are you going to call,
Buckaroo.
Christopher?
I'm going to call your mother. Oh, don't pick that. Pick your second least favorite. Walk away.
Mom!
That's such the mom impression. That's
Oh
my
my
mom
God.
impression too.
Mom would,
you picked
mom
that
would pick
one?
walk away.
Greg,
Oh, I'm up.
what's your least favorite? I know this is going to
Oh,
be very
man.
hard for you.
So
You
I'm
need
gonna
a
see.
second?
I'm gonna see if I can get away with cheating.
Nope.
Because
No, we've already had someone try to do this. You can't.
Yeah, they didn't make it out
Oh, really?
alive.
Well,
Yeah.
let me see if my idea is the same as their idea.
All right.
So
Fucking.
We'll
Try me.
We'll entertain it.
again, I'm 5 listens in, and I was trying so hard. Like, what song bums me out? Like, what is my least favorite song? And I think "Lonely Is the World's" my least favorite song because it's the last song, and there's no more. There's no more after it
You sly little bastard, you.
because I fucking love that song, but it's the last one.
Judges?
And it makes me very upset and sad.
I'll allow it.
I'll allow it, but no one else gets to do that. That was awesome.
Yeah, okay.
And you
Yeah.
get a pass on
Okay.
that. No one else ever does.
Okay.
Dude took 6 pages of notes. Okay, he loves
6
this album.
pages of notes.
Don't expect too much. The dude loves this fucking album.
By like noon, I was like, all right, dude, I'm going to give him, I got like 8 hours. That's like,
But I knew it. He's like, I'm out of cum. I don't have it anymore. all done.
I was spent. I was like, all right, I'm going to throw him that one. I'm going to see if they'll
Good for you.
let it slide.
I'm pretty sure like every single album I've ever listened to probably has a song that I don't like on it.
This one,
I can't think of. I don't know. I
really
can't really think
doesn't.
of one that that I love every single track like equally.
this is probably in my top favorite metal, not even like genre-wise, like metal albums period of all time in my top 10 for sure.
Gotcha.
This just hits every single note I ever want out of a metal album.
Sorry to make you choose a least favorite.
Well, at least we got there.
Yeah, I got away. I'm glad I
A
got away
song
with
was
that one.
volunteered for the culling. So
I'm glad I got away with
Push
that
that
one.
right into the volcano.
That makes
Dropped it right down the cliff like fucking Macaulay Culkin.
yeah, that child is going into the Hunger Games.
So good. My least favorite's going to be Walk Away.
It's a long way to nowhere.
I felt like I felt like that was the straightforward rock song, and like I said, it's got some, kind of mishmash of some similar era bands happening there. I guess guitar riffage wise, but yeah, it just felt very safe rock and.
You see, Christopher? You should have picked that. My boy James did. Patrick, what the hell are you thinking? Picking out your favorites. So much like your father.
Yeah.
My wife will appreciate that joke.
Yeah, that's it.
Cool.
MVP moment, Patrick.
All right. My MVP moment was in Wishing Well, the very first line of the song where Dio says, "Throw me a penny."
Roll me a penny, and I'll make you a dream. You find that life's not always what it seems. No, then think of a rainbow.
Because only that dude could
good.
get away with saying "throw me a penny," and I gave a look over to Christopher right during that part, and I gave you a little smirk, and I hope you knew what I was talking about.
It did not register.
You're supposed to know.
Christopher just thought you were coming on to him.
I mean that was, I mean that's believable. I thought the drums in "Lonely Is the Word" was definitely an MVP moment for me as well. Like I said earlier when Chris brought it up, it was the moment that it sounded the most like Black Sabbath to me, and I just really appreciated the sort of dirty drums coming in. It was good shit.
That was a good one.
And yeah, Mike, all I got to say.
Whew. So I was gonna cop out originally and say that my MVP moment for this album was gonna be just fucking Geezer Butler. But I think we've talked enough about him and sung his praises enough where I can bypass that. I'm gonna go with the reverbed out neck bends during the solo bridge of Heaven and Hell.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, when he was doing those bendy
The
things.
swells, yeah.
Yeah, that sounded pretty good. And I did not mean to do that. I just didn't have another word to go to, and I had committed myself to pretty. So,
I like it.
Fuck. Purdy. That's pretty good.
Pretty fantastic.
that's pretty good.
You got real pretty hair.
I gotta say my MVP moment is probably also in Heaven and Hell, and I think it's after the swells when they put that crazy echo on Iommi's
Yep, that's
guitar,
right after, yeah.
and then it just rips into that insane solo with the over, and it just takes off.
They say that life's a carousel, spinning fast, you gotta ride it well. The world
And he just shreds for the rest of the song. And then Dio jumps on top of his shredding, and it's just Dio and Iommi kicking ass side by side. And it gives me
Butt
so
to
pumped.
butt, cheek to cheek.
Dio
And that
Iommi
song,
Ass to ass.
that song's like a double MVP because that's got the best oohs and yeah-yeahs on the whole album.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
Does anyone else want a Dio and Iommi like buddy cop show from the 80s?
Yep.
I thought you
Like
were
fucking
gonna say
Miami
gay-
Vice style?
They were just both on point.
I mean, they were already hanging
on
out. Like,
point, man.
I thought you were going to say erotic fan fiction, and I was going to say right ahead of you. I already got like 6 chapters done.
Well, I mean, that probably exists.
What, Tony Iommi and Ronnie James Dio erotic fan fiction?
I'm Googling.
I
Probably
mean,
does.
goddamn, there was the erotic fan fiction about Dipper there. That
Yeah, and I mean, I've even written erotic fan fiction about, was it Marin and Pepin and Mary from Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
You know those two hobbits?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just had some encouragement, and with a little alcohol involved, I wrote a slash fic about those.
Can we do
two.
can we start like a 48-hour film project or like an RPM style challenge where like we have to each write an erotic fan fiction and like we have to pick like who does what, two characters, like
pick everything out of a hat?
Oh, that even better. So like do we want it to cross? Do we want like two people from the same show, book, movie, pop culture reference, whatever, or do we want to just like mix it up, like have Mickey Mouse and Gary Busey?
Oh man, that's good,
I would love to be a fly on the wall for their meet,
dude. That's a good one.
For their meet and greet. Yeah.
Just for posterity here, I googled the following words: Dio, Iomi, erotic fiction.
I bet it exists, man.
First result, Amazon.com. Iron Man, My Journey Through Heaven and Hell with Black Sabbath by Tony Iommi.
Oh yeah, there's some cool stories in that one, I bet.
I want to know more about Ozzy going insane. Was
Yeah.
that the
I
era
mean, that
when
was
he
the
tried to kill
80s.
Sharon? Well, no, they weren't married yet.
Yeah, it was later, because I think
Yeah.
it was really after Randy Rhoads died that he started kind of
Yeah.
hitting the booze more.
Ultimate Sin was kind of when he was going off the rails, and then I
On a
want to
crazy
say,
train?
yeah, and then it was
Nice.
after, yeah, because it was around that time or after was when he hooked up with fucking Zach Wilde, and I think he like cleaned up his act a little bit
that's
after
right.
that. That might have been around the time he was like pissing on the Alamo too.
Dude, how about Zach Sabbath? Have you seen that?
Nah.
So, all right, this is
I heard about that for the first time this past week.
super weird. So,
Yeah.
Zach Wilde has a Sabbath cover band called Zach Sabbath, and even weirder, Ozzy is like done with his own Ozzy Osbourne stuff
Yeah.
soon. I think that this is last year or something like that. He's on his last tour, and then he will be taking over vocals for Zach Sabbath. And I was like, on what planet is it not weird that Ozzy fronts a cover band that covers his songs?
Well, isn't there a...
This is late stage capitalism.
So
everybody.
weird, dude.
Well,
That's very odd to me.
Iommi was the one who wanted to stop touring in Sabbath.
Right.
Isn't there a Jay Giles cover band in Boston, and the bassist in the cover band is the original bassist from the Jay Giles band?
I don't know. That would probably make sense. Patrick, you're our leading expert on Jay Giles. Do you want to explain to us why?
I don't know. He's dead.
Hey, man, how about a little bit of respect?
But like to
Thanks for
put,
writing thanks for writing all those songs I hate.
Okay.
but to put it into perspective, like Ozzy Osbourne like sells out like arenas, and now he'll be selling out like the Palladium in Worcester, singing his own songs.
I want to see Ozzy
in a cover band. He's covering his own.
I want to see
it's
Ozzy
so
in a
weird.
club setting. Holy shit!
I
wanna see him at
you
the
just
Met.
hit it. Actually, that's probably what it is. Because
Maybe.
Ozzy couldn't play a smaller venue like
They
that.
want him to. It's like more. What do you call it?
intimate.
What I'm looking intimate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it, man. But I just thought that was kind of strange.
Ozzy at the Met? That'd be dope.
It would
Oh, that'd
be
be so cool.
but it's so odd.
Ozzy at the Sinclair. Holy shit!
It's like, man,
Oh man, that'd be fun.
it's like,
That would be really fun someday.
like the
Ozzy
Dio,
at PA's Lounge.
the Dio. It's like the Dio cover band,
That's a rough day.
like the Dio cover band with Dio on vocals. Like that's just odd. Oh, my Dio cover band story.
Oh, yeah, go for
So-
it. That
Yeah,
li-
please
segues
do.
right in.
There's a band in Providence called Holy Diver, and they cover all things Dio, like Dio Sabbath, Dio. Have you guys ever heard Heaven and Hell, the band?
No.
I've heard
Oh.
of it.
Dude, so their album came out in 2009, and it's another thing that I say that a lot of people are like, oh, really?
That was post Sabbath reunion.
Yes.
But the rest of Sabbath got together with
Yeah.
Dio, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
So Dio, he was like older. I like older Dio as well because he has like a lot of gravel behind that cool like vibrato he does.
Yeah.
And so when that album came out in 2009, some of my favorite Dio and Iommi stuff is on that like newest album, and it's so good. But there's a band called Holy Diver in Providence, and I was at dusk I went with Chris Hickman actually
Yeah,
from Cactus
right.
Attack. So we were at the bar, and I didn't pay any attention. And there was a guy like sitting across the bar, and he looked just like Dio. Like if Dio wasn't dead, I would have been like, what is he doing in Providence alone? Like
That's a pretty
like,
unique
this is
thing
so
to be a
weird.
doppelganger for, too.
Dude, so
Yeah.
weird. And when Chris came to the bar, I was like, keep your eyes open. There's a dude in here that I would believe 100% is Ronnie James Dio. And he's like, no way. So like I didn't see him for the rest of the night. So Holy Diver gets on to play, and he's the fucking singer for Holy Diver. Dude, he walked like him, talked like him, looked like him. I was like, this is
Is
the
this
most.
like an Andy Kaufman thing
Dude,
where Dio really isn't dead?
it
He's-
was the most. It was the most insane
Well,
thing
he's
ever.
shaped like him, so I imagine his like vocal cords and
Dude,
pipes are
it
shaped
was-
the same too.
It was
He's just
crazy.
like
It
an
was crazy.
analog.
And
you know?
this is like last summer, and I've been to a lot of shows, but for some reason I went fucking nuts at that show, and like
That sounds like so
screamed.
much fun.
Dude.
Yeah,
And it was a cover band, and I was like, my other friend Kevin was there, who's also like a huge Dio fan, and we were like arm in arm, like shoulder to shoulder, like belting every single line, like it was Dio, like in front of us, like we were reacting like the same exact way, and it was so sick. And if you ever get the chance, they play Mardi Gras a lot. I've actually never been there in Providence, but I saw them at dusk. Oh no, Mardi Gras actually might have just closed.
Yeah, I don't
So-
think that exists anymore.
But so yeah, I haven't seen them since I saw them once, like last summer, and it was fucking insane, dude. Insane.
I remember I got invited to go see a show one time. Actually, it was Fallon's friend Rev.
Okay.
He was in a Rob Zombie cover band, so they did White Zombie and Rob
That's
Zombie
pretty
shit.
cool.
And I didn't realize, but like I was invited. I was like, yeah, all right, I'll go see this person's shitty band, whatever. I didn't know it was a cover band or what it was, so I go down there, and they did all Rob Zombie covers, and the singer, looked exactly like
Dude.
Zombie, and he was fucking awesome.
That shit's
and I went
crazy,
with
huh?
Eric Rauenstrout, and we were fucking going nuts, and Eric was drinking an entire pitcher of beer to himself, and we were just fucking going crazy.
That's pretty good.
I mean,
Yeah,
don't
it's
you
pretty
just
good.
need to look like a dirty old mop to
Yeah,
look like a fucking Rob Zombie?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, those sort of things are a dime a dozen in Haverhill, so it's kind of impressive that one of them made it to success.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of white
Too
dreads
funny.
there.
Hey, speaking of specific doppelgangers, what are your guys' favorites? I mean, we know that you have a Dio one.
Yeah.
Like, have you guys ever seen a specific doppelganger that you're a fan of or whatever? I asked because I have one.
There was a woman on the train this morning. I actually meant
Oh,
to
boy.
message you guys. There was a woman on the train this morning who looked like Bryan Cranston wearing a blonde wig. And I was like fucking dying.
Oh, that's rough.
That's too
That's
bad.
a handsome woman.
That's too bad.
I used to work for Marblehead Historical Society, giving tours at a historical mansion up there. And when it was quiet, I would just be sitting in the office across the street and like answer questions or whatever for any passerby. And this one dude came in pretty frequently who looked and sounded exactly like Truman Capote.
Weird.
Yeah, it was just super specific because he'd come in with like the hat and the glasses and had like kind of the weird little face, and he's just like, "Hello, I'm looking for," and like he'd give like whatever, and it was just like, holy shit! Like this is the most specific combination of looking and sounding like someone I have ever seen.
That's pretty
Time
good.
traveler.
Yeah, maybe. Oh God, that's a great pitch for a TV show. Truman Capote, time traveling crime fighter.
Oh yeah, fighting crime, writing stories, smoking cigarettes.
I'm going to prevent the Cutler murder and never write in cold blood.
Yeah. You wouldn't be able to write that story.
Story.
That will tell. I have face blindness, so I can't tell anything about doppelgangers.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you unless it's like a C-list celebrity.
Oh, I have a pretty good story about a doppelganger. When I was in high school, we used to hang out. You remember this? Remember the pit? You'd stand outside before we got to go into the school.
Oh, the old Attleboro pit.
Yeah, for sure. It was just this area outside the school. And I was like just being funny and like yelling and screaming about something.
Oh, that's funny.
And they're, shut the fuck up, Christopher. And
Oh, we were roustabout and we were rapscallion. We were jack-a-napering.
my brother was a freshman that year, and apparently there was a kid who looked exactly like him, dressed like him and everything. So I'm like yelling and screaming, and I'm like, ah! And I was like, right. And I grab this kid who I think is my brother. I spin him around and I scream into his face, right. And it wasn't my brother.
How quickly did you realize this?
Very quickly. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you were my brother. And then I spun him back around, and he went about his day, and he's probably a serial killer now.
I just met the funniest man alive.
That was the first time he's been touched by another human being.
Yeah, maybe he changed his life for the better. You ever think about that?
Maybe.
I mean, it's not likely, but
Maybe that woke him up.
And at the age of 17, a strange gentleman grabbed me and proclaimed that I was his brother. I wasn't his brother. But I'm glad he touched me that day.
he was a hooting and a hollering, and he spun me around, and he made me realize that I didn't have to be his biological brother to be his brother. He taught me how to love that day.
You sound like fucking, who was your fucking character in the 48 Hour?
Oh, Thud Taylor?
Yeah, you sound like Thud Taylor.
Todd Taylor. That's good.
All right, comparable album, Patrick.
Oh, fuck, I forgot we're still doing this.
Oh, yeah. Holy shit. Jesus Christ. My pick was a bit of a strange one. Corrosion of Conformity is Blind from 1991. Are you familiar?
That's a good one.
Yeah, so my
That's
rationale...
actually, that's one of the only Corrosion albums I really dig. That fucking album is insane.
It's a great one.
It is.
That was one I picked up when I was in 6th grade, and it fucking just melted my brain.
That's a good one.
It's a good one. And it similarly to this album, this was sort of a rebirth for the band. That Corrosion of Conformity were like a North Carolina based punk band for a while, and then they took a break for a few years and regrouped with Pepper Keenan, and they got a new vocalist for this album, Carl Agel, and sort of like became the more like stoner sludge metal that we know him for today. And just like kind of one of those transitional albums that I've known like holds a special place in people's hearts. It's a good one, man.
That is good.
Yeah.
Any fan of like good age, like Metallica, like any of those old school like thrash metal bands, that because that's what made me get Blind. I forget when the hell I got that album, but it fit in with all those other bands at the time.
Yeah, for sure. And
that
it
was
like
good.
it came out in 91, and it sort of like predated the like aggro metal that would sort of come like later on in the decade.
Yeah, that's
but like done well, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Quitifa.
I'm actually going to go with one that's probably a little different than the other suggestions here. I'm going to go with Radioactivity by Kraftwerk.
And what the fuck?
Yeah. So my thinking for that
would
is that's the first time for Kraftwerk in particular where their sound audibly shifted. It was still sort of the same kind of thing that they were getting at, but it shifted in a completely different direction, largely as a result of personnel changes. And they were able to do things that they didn't do before, because before they were just kind of like this weird, jammy, post-hippie kind of nonsense with flutes, for fuck's sake. And then they started getting a bit more weird with things. And that album is kind of where it started to gel. And that's kind of the vibe I got from it, from listening to this album, is that granted, it happened quicker apparently for Black Sabbath in this case, but yeah, it was all the pieces falling into place after a personnel change.
Was this like right before Autobahn?
It was immediately after Autobahn, because that album is actually still kind of jammy and nonsensical in a lot of places.
It's like 26 minutes long or some shit.
Yeah, Autobahn's long. It's the only song I really like on that album, to be honest. The others are all kind of like still like flute stuff. There's flute all over fucking Autobahn, too.
There is. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
From when I listened to it.
But yeah, both of those are a far cry from that track that they used to play on PBS between shows.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that like weird fucking early krautrock shit.
Yeah. The one that we fucking have talked about multiple times on this podcast.
Yeah.
It's true. Greg.
Comparable albums. So, especially Geezer's bass work I get a lot of Iron Maiden vibes from this album. I don't know if you guys have heard it, but I believe it was 2015, maybe 2016. My date might be off. But there was a Dio cover album that was released, and all the proceeds went to like one of those cancer funds. But that's where I heard the Anthrax track. Metallica does a Rainbow medley that's like 9.5 minutes long. That's insane. Wow. Tenacious D does Last in Line. They won like a Grammy for, and it's so good. And I think Halford or Judas Priest does Man on the Silver Mountain. And there's like all these great names.
I fucking love that song.
dude. Motorhead does one. It's escaping me which one they do, but like all these crazy bands did it, and like I was so pumped. And me and my friends, we went out and we got it. And the first question one of our other friends asked, we were like, "Dude, we got the Dio cover album. Like, come over, let's do it." And he's like, "What song does Iron Maiden do?" And we're like, "Man, they don't do a song." And he was like, "Damn," because I thought for sure they'd cover Heaven and Hell. Like that bass line is like so the bump bo-do-dum bo-do-dum bo-do-dum.
For sure.
And it's like, dude, you could
Definitely
totally
like,
hear Bruce Dickinson come soaring in over that bass line.
Yeah.
And like if for some reason now every time I listen to this album, I was like, I just think of it as like, man, imagine if Bruce and the gang.
I think
old Brucey and the boys.
Bruce Dickinson is probably the closest to Dio.
I was just gonna say my
Yeah.
three of my favorite vocalists of all time are Dio, Jack Black, and Bruce Dickinson, because Jack Black's also like stupidly die hard into Dio.
Yeah.
Like he was in the Tenacious Pick of Destiny, and like I said, they won a Grammy, and like the first person Jack Black called when he won the Grammy for The Last in Line was Dio's wife. Like called her up, like, "Oh my God, we won," and they were like crying together and stuff. So it's like
Dio managed to have like a career in metal without looking like a complete asshole at any point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which he really did.
Which is really difficult.
Yeah.
Like he has like his career is like pretty solid all the way
Yeah,
through.
it
Like I
really
don't know what he
is.
was doing in the late 80s or the 90s so much, but he was able to kind of come out with, jump on the nostalgia circuit without like too much embarrassment or anything beforehand.
He did. The mid '90s was a little weird. I think the album's called Sacred Hearts. Oh shit, I'm having a mind block. But he did another one called Angry Machines.
Yeah,
which is like, my friend was talking about it today, and he's like, "Dude, he works at Newberry Comics, and he's like, dude, I put Angry Machines on," and I was like, oof. And he's like, "Yeah."
That is electronica album.
He was like, I forgot how bad that was, to the point where like I put it on and I was like doing like working through, and he's like, I was like embarrassed that I put it on. But then
no one hears
but then in 2000 or 2001 he put out Magica, which was like a return to form.
Yeah.
And there was Magic, and there was a couple after that, and he the year before he died was the Heaven and Hell album. So the mid '90s got very.
So the first time I
Not
actually
great.
heard Dio was when they were featured on South Park at the end of that episode.
Oh yeah, Holy Diver, I think.
Yeah,
Right?
like the homeschool
Yeah.
kids and they have the
Yeah.
dance or whatever. That was actually the first time I heard that song, and I was like, this song's kind of kick-ass.
Yeah,
Who the fuck
it
is this?
is,
So
it
like,
is.
it was 1999, hop on Napster
Right,
and
right.
downloaded it. And
Yeah, because it's funny
the rest is history.
if you ask like, "Hey, dude, do you know Dio?" 90% of the responses you'll get are, "Oh yeah, Holy Diver."
I think my first Dio was Rainbow in the Dark.
Rainbow in the Dark, Holy Diver. Those are
Rainbow in the dark.
because those are on the same. Those are on the same album, the Holy Diver album, and Straight Through the Heart is on that album. I love that. I love that song.
Straight through the heart.
Stand
Not
Up
Bryan
and
Adams.
Stand Up and Shout is on the Holy Diver album. That whole album's pretty good. But yeah, mid '90s Dio was not the Dio to listen to. That's for sure.
Yeah. Did he do some industrial albums or something?
Yeah, he actually had a track in. When did the first Wayne's World come out? I think it's the first one.
92, yeah.
Time Machine, when they're. I haven't seen that movie in so friggin' long, but they're in the car, they're racing to somewhere, and that metal song's playing, and that's off Dehumanizer.
Then when he gets pulled over by the T-1000.
I think so.
Oh,
and
right.
that's-
He rejoined. Yeah, because
Yeah.
Dehumanizer came out in
Dehumanizer
92.
and
Yeah.
Time Machine off Dehumanizer is what they're racing in the car to. And when I first heard that, I was like, "Yo, shit, dude!" I get all excited.
All right, my comparable album is going to be sonically completely different than this, only because So this vinyl was one of the ones I stole from my parents' house. So it was one of my dad's old vinyls, and
Along with any change in money that I could find.
yeah.
I stole a couple gas cans too.
So I got all the vinyls over here, and I was kind of going through them. So I'm gonna actually go with an album we've done before, Pink Floyd's Animals, because I actually played them back to back when I was going through my booty that I commandeered from my parents' house.
Yeah, go through that booty.
Yeah, and I heard that quite a bit actually in the intro of Die Young. That reminded me quite a bit of Sheep in some ways. The synth choices and stuff.
Strange Highways, by the way, was that I said Sacred Heart or something stupid. Strange Highways was the one.
All right, let's
Weird
rate this
roads.
motherfucker,
right.
Patrick.
So yeah, like I said before, I don't love this album. In a lot of ways, it doesn't have the things that I sort of love about Sabbath, but like the earlier stuff where it was like really weird and like, you know, you listen to some of those records and it's like what the production is just so strange that I almost like was really hooked to it, and like where this album kind of sounds more like straight ahead new wave of British heavy metal.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, everybody is just like fucking rock solid, spot on, like. You can tell that like the band is in an inspired, like revitalized state, and kind of digging a little more into it, and like just seeing where the album fell in history. It's like apparent to me that that's an important album. It's one that influenced that style of metal and would like sort of set the trajectory for where metal would head from there. Yeah. So I gave it a 7, a strong 7. It's not my favorite Sabbath album, but I really like it. It's good. I think it's worthy of a 7 in my book.
My rating actually changed as we were discussing because I kind of figured it earlier tonight, and then as Greg was saying, just talking about how looking at it in terms of a Dio album or a Sabbath album, or basically looking at the context of it, I gave it an extra point, so I'm going to give it an 8.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a fucking strong album. Not my favorite Sabbath album, and I don't know, probably my favorite Dio album that I've heard so far. But yeah, 8.
Yeah.
Okay. So it might not be a surprise, but like Patrick mentioned, everything, the stars aligned, the planets aligned for this album. Everybody was on top of their game. I feel like Tony Iommi had like just this secret box of riffs and solos that he was just dying to unleash.
The precious.
And when he met Dio, they unleashed it together. And there isn't a note on this album that bores me or rubs me the wrong way or that I don't like. And in my eyes, this is a perfect metal album. And I'm probably super biased just because I fucking love Dio. I fucking love Dio.
Reminder:
But
he's wearing a Dio shirt right now.
This is a 10 out of 10 for me. This is a perfect metal album. I own this on like CD. I own a couple different versions of the vinyl, and this seems to come up anytime I reference Dio. I'm like, dude, Heaven and Hell, and then the band Heaven and Hell is even. That's just.
How about that album
Insane,
cover?
dude.
It's kind of like the dogs playing poker, but with angels.
Yeah, and they're just like smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
So
guys.
It's a
I
perfect
want to hang out
album.
with those cherubs.
10 out of 10, man.
Yeah.
This is a perfect metal album in my eyes.
Right on.
All right, what you got over there, Sport?
All right, so in the same vein, I know we discussed this earlier when we were listening. Like, I feel like, you know when you go to the deli and you get like there's like the store brand meat and then there's like the choice meat. You're gonna pay a little more. I feel like Iommi just he hand selected these cuts of meat.
That's the perfect, dude. That is the perfect
for his
fucking-
solos.
dude.
He,
It's like
Oh,
these
man.
aren't the end pieces.
this is
I could go with the boar's head, but you know what? I'm going to go with the German name instead.
Oh,
exactly. Yeah, I mean he hand selected
Deutschmarker.
every note that he played on
That's
this.
perfect, dude.
And same, with Dio, he is, like I said several times, his voice is an instrument.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this album an 8, And, if you were to strip everything away from it and it was just fucking Dio farting into a microphone for 40 minutes, I'd probably still give it a 7. So, I think it's a great album. I don't think there's a bad song on this one. I think it's driving. I think it's the perfect length. I don't get bored with it. I listened to it. I didn't listen to it as much as Greg today. I listened to it 2 times at work and then the time we listened to it upstairs. But yeah, solid performance from everybody. This one gets an 8 from me.
Yeah, good for them.
Dude.
Good for them. Good show, guys.
That'll give us an aggregate of 8.25. So
Nice.
solid,
I dig it, man.
solid B effort.
Yeah.
That makes
live
me
with that.
happy, dude.
Awesome.
All right.
a lot of people-
Before we plug anything here, I've talked to Greg about this before, and I've got him here, and I think he needs to spread some knowledge throughout
Jesus.
the world. So, Greg is the resident metal expert in my life. So I have to ask, you gotta fucking give us some insight on what the different types of metal are here, because there's black
boy.
metal, there's death metal, there's thrash metal,
Yeah.
there's
There's
what's
just
it?
a
Thrash
zillion
metal.
subgenres.
Thrash metal's the big 4, right? So you get
Yeah.
Megadeth, you get your Anthrax, you get
Yeah,
your
a lot of it
Metallica.
has to do with like history and location of where, like the source. I think. So, like
Yeah.
black metal like has its roots in Scandinavia.
In Norway, Sweden, stuff like that.
Like a lot of
Okay.
the black metal
So,
that's,
like, is
that's
it-
around
so is
today
Op-
was
is-
very heavily
Yeah,
influenced by.
for
So
sure.
is that like
what's going on.
Opeth? Is Opeth black metal?
Some
Yeah,
people
they're like
consider black metal.
progressive
They
black
got
metal.
they
And
got
then, like,
super progressive.
Meshuggah is like gent, though,
Yeah,
right?
Gent. I don't like Gent.
You don't like
No, I
gent?
don't like Gent.
What about Dimmu Borgir?
I love that band.
They're
I
black
think
metal.
Their earlier stuff's really cool, but when I think Abrahadabra, I forget when that album came out,
Yeah.
but that was the first one without Vortex, the dude who does like he's a bass player, but he's the one that does all those really sick like operatic vocals.
Oh, gotcha.
So when he left, they got kind of bland, and then their newest album was again just like sort of forgettable. But like as far as like black metal goes, there's a band called Marduk that just released a new album. They're one of my favorite bands. The singer in Marduk has another band called Funeral Mist that just released one of the better black metal albums that I've heard in a very, very long time.
So I always thought like black metal is like the classier version of death metal. Like I always
Black-
attributed like death metal with like American bands like
Yeah,
Cannibal
so-
Corpse and Death and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Black metal is more symphonic too, right?
Well, symphonic black metal is actually a separate
It's own-
genre.
it's a sub- like black, there's like the heavy
so,
satanic
like-
imagery.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And,
So-
and but just the color black
Death-
in general is a big
Right, so-
pastiche.
Album covers are a bunch of dudes in the woods
In, like,
the
the snow.
and one of them
White
holding
faces.
a sword.
Yeah, exactly. So like death metal is I compare it to like death metal is like the horror movie
Okay,
of the metal genre. It's like
it's a little more theatrical.
Most of it's all fun and games, like blood and guts and gore and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And like black metal are like the serious dudes. Like most, like some of the big, like the bigger names in black metal, like Mayhem, Dissection, Burzum, and Emperor. Like those are like some huge ones, and they're all like tied to like murders and like
Yeah, basically
church
they're
burnings and,
fucking legit
yeah, exactly,
evil.
exactly.
And,
So
like we're death metal, it's all for show. But
So
the black
death
metal
metal-
guys are
right.
fucking actually metal.
Right. So over here, death metal, came out, and then the black metal guys basically thought the death metal guys were the posers, so that like to one up them,
Yeah.
they were like, so like
Fucking sacrifice some goats
like,
and burn some churches down.
like-
Come on, guys.
yeah.
What are we doing?
so a lot of those guys are into the murder, like that. The John Nodvate of Dissection was like, he killed some dude supposedly just because the guy was a homosexual, and he went to jail.
that's
Yeah. So he went to jail, and then he got out of jail, and he released one more album that was like super satanic, and then he killed himself for in the name of kind of
Oh,
thing.
man.
So like,
Jesus.
so those
That's rough.
dudes, those dudes are like kind of legit, and like Burzum, Varg Vikernes is like a one-man project. He's a scumbag. He's like a neo-Nazi piece of shit. He like
Yeah.
he like burned a church down, and he killed Euronymous from Mayhem back in the day.
Oh,
so
yeah.
there's
Is he the one who, like he pops up in memes a lot?
Yeah,
too?
yeah.
The guy
'cause-
with the beard.
Exactly. Yeah. Now he has a YouTube channel. He's fucking
The
nuts.
guy with the beard from Norway.
Yeah. Because and it was crazy because actually,
Descriptive.
Eric Rautenstrauch, you mentioned you went to a show with him earlier a couple months ago. I went to see Mayhem because I'd never seen them, And like it was the first time I saw a band, and like I barely moved. I was just like, dude, that's mayhem. Like there's like murder involved in that band, and like super evil, mean stuff. And like it's surprisingly all the dudes are really cool, but that's the black metal, death metal difference. And then you got like the thrash
All right, so what about
metal.
like thrash metal is like Metallica,
Anthrax,
Slayer,
like the big four. But
Big
then
four.
like nowadays thrash, I guess would probably be like Municipal Waste is one that everybody likes. There's a band called Power Trip who gets a lot of hate. I don't know why, but they're like a thrashy, hardcore kind of crossover.
Yeah,
band.
thrash is kind of a little close. It's like a little closer to hardcore punk.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
Because Metallica,
Exactly.
if you look back, Metallica was actually like really influenced by a lot of hardcore
Absolutely,
bands.
dude.
In addition to fucking
James-
new wave
yeah.
of black,
Yeah.
of heavy metal.
James's Metal Vest has all kinds of crazy like Discharge. There's like a really old school like hardcore band that influenced a lot of like the thrash stuff. But my favorites are probably death metal, black metal, and grindcore, which is like grindcore is like
Insanity.
punk turned up to like 12.
I had a buddy who was in a grindcore band called Terminally Your Aborted Ghost.
Yeah, that sounds
And,
that sounds about right.
It was dope.
But like
Devin.
Oh yeah, Devin. I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
But like Napalm Death is a big one. Regurgitate's one of my favorites.
All right, what about like doom? What's the difference between doom metal and heavy metal?
Doom
Doom
like
metal's really slow.
and fucking
Yeah.
deep,
Yeah.
Sludgy.
fucking-
I'm
Doom
glad-
is actually specifically influenced by Black Sabbath.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
I was
say.
just gonna say I'm glad you brought that up because Black Sabbath is like the stoner doom band. Like that's the bar. Like there's a band called Sleep. I might have mentioned.
Yeah.
Dope smoker.
So yeah,
Dope smoker.
exactly. So like Sleep, even the Sword, totally. I know
Yeah.
you know the Sword, right?
Yeah.
They're
That's not like stoner metal though.
no, they're the Sword's first album. I can't think of the fucking name. Age
Stoner
of-
metal's like
Age of
it's like
Winter?
more
Yeah,
like
Age of Winter.
hippie.
So
than,
yeah.
Than
So
your doom metals. You're
Age
more
of-
satanic.
It's just a bunch of fucking white
Yeah,
dudes
yeah.
who smoked a bunch of fucking pot and play loud music.
exactly.
It's cool. It's
so
fine, but
Age of Winters was like Black Sabbath and Sleep combined, and then now the Sword's like very different than their early stuff. But
So what?
Yeah.
All right. So where does somebody like Mastodon fit in then?
that's a hard one because
Because is that tech metal?
They're like doom. I
would
thought.
call their earlier stuff. There's hints of almost everything, dude. Like
you could
the,
even
the
argue
drumming is
post-rock.
Yeah,
with
the
them.
drumming is borderline grind on their first couple albums, like super unorthodox.
Clutches was kind of like a sludgy sort of
Right.
stoner metal-ish band.
But then Mastodon have the giant riffs,
Yeah.
on like their newer
big
stuff.
elephantine.
So
riffs.
like I don't even know what the hell.
big old tusks.
Yeah, exactly. Just big heavy riffs.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Stampy.
that's been very informative. Let's do some plugs.
Jesus, what is this episode like? 3 hours now.
Patrick, plug something.
Plug something. All right. Actually, you can take a listen to my other podcast, Jukebox Zeros, where we review another Black Sabbath album, Born Again, which actually came out 2 albums after the one that we listened to tonight. We did that one with Joe Skirdo of the band Angel Morgue. They're metal band up in New Hampshire. And what else is going on? Oh, Bears for Years is playing a show at McGann's Irish Pub on August 31st, and Jim Schultz will be playing drums.
I'm gonna smack some skins.
It's gonna be great. Who
He's
knows?
a good skin smacker, dude.
Good.
He is a good skin smacker.
Oh yeah, I love the way he smacks those skins.
Christopher.
Oh man, I'm in a good mood tonight.
Yeah. That weed is going the distance tonight.
Dude, seriously, it's like I switched over to a new strain. I like chugged a Donkey's cold brew, and like I got this beer right here. I don't have to work tomorrow. I take it a personal day tomorrow. I'm feeling good.
And you had a pleasant shit during track 6.
Oh yeah, it was so good. It was so smooth.
Cool.
I had Donkeys for dinner, so I spent like all of $4.
I don't have anything I want to plug.
I
Not
ruined
after
you.
that.
Sorry.
Greg, you want to plug anything?
Plug anything.
Yeah, you're playing some bands, right?
I was. I actually have a tryout coming up in a couple weeks
Yeah.
that I was super antsy about yesterday. I was like shaking. I was so excited. I don't want to say anything yet because if it falls through or they don't like me, I'm going to be very upset. But I've worked with this kid in the past. You're familiar with Taylor and those guys.
Yeah.
I used to be in a band called Scalpel, a death metal band.
Nice.
We parted ways in like 2009, I believe. And there was a former member of Scalpel that had his own side project, another really heavy death metal band. But I couldn't do two bands at once. Blah blah blah. So the past 8 years, I've been like, man, if their vocalist ever leaves, I've got to jump all over that.
And then you killed him.
And then yesterday I got a screenshot and
That's
a
very
text.
black metal.
Yeah, yes.
Exactly.
I got a screenshot
Kill him
of a
and wear his
text.
skin.
I got the screenshot yesterday of their Facebook page saying the singer was leaving, and I was like, son of a bitch. I've been waiting 8 years for this.
My day has come.
So hopefully,
fucking do it, man.
I have
That's awesome.
hopefully I have something to plug in the near future.
Awesome.
But as of right now,
It's funny that you brought
Godspeed.
up Scalpel because so I'm recording Cax Attack
Yeah,
right now,
right,
which
right.
will be my plug. Even though I haven't finished the album yet. We should hopefully be done. No, we won't be done tracking by the time this airs.
no.
But Taylor is the guitarist for Cactus Egg as well, and
Yeah.
I was going through a bunch of old stuff on my computer, and I found a Scalpel track that I recorded here with them a few years ago.
Scalpel's cool stuff,
So
man.
I'll have to play that for
Yeah.
you when we're done.
Scalpel's cool. I do miss that band, and those guys are the shit. I just saw Manny and Taylor the other night. I went over and we were drinking and playing catch with a mallet. And the
Wait, what?
Please explain.
the usual. Whenever I hang out with the Scalpel guys, it's usually fucking insane, and I'm usually
Well,
standing.
yeah, they had to stop recording with me because Manny broke his foot or something.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, exactly. So every time I hang out with those guys, I'm like,
We had to
"Whoa."
shoot him.
I love those guys to death, but every time we hang out, I'm like, what am I doing with my life, dude? So, but they're a blast, and Taylor's one of my favorite guitar players.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Fucking ever, dude. And
We were just recording.
Manny's just as nasty.
This
So
past weekend, we were doing all guitar solos, so I just
yeah,
had
oh,
fucking
dude.
Taylor riffage in my ear
He's
all weekend.
ridiculous. Taylor's ridiculous.
Yeah, he
ridiculous. And him and Manny together, like that Scalpel is just bananas, dude. Fucking insane.
Word. Awesome, man.
So yeah, like I said, my plug is for the Cactus Tech stuff that isn't out yet. Keep an eye out for it. In the meantime, check out their other stuff. I recorded their last album as well, called Happy Hunting.
That's right.
Yeah.
They're on iTunes and all that fun stuff.
Did a good job on that one, man.
Playing drums. This one's gonna be so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like Happy. I actually tell him, I was like, dude, Jimmy's the shit, man. And
I
that
actually-
album sounds really good.
I don't know if I'm just being hypercritical of myself, but I actually don't like the way that on my, not anything they did, but I just wasn't happy with the way it sounded.
That's, yeah.
But this one's coming out really good. It's gonna blow that one out of the water, I think.
I'm excited.
Awesome. And I just want to plug real quick. We will be releasing a bonus episode probably next week. Will be my birthday bonus episode.
Birthday boy bonanza.
That's right. We'll be turning 34 years old. So we're reviewing King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Lizard Wizard. I
Yeah,
know the guy.
2017 record.
That's sick, dude.
The Flying Microtonal Banana. Be sure to check that out. It's a lot of fun. We're there with Pete Danilchuk, famous Boston keyboardist and all around good dude.
They're sick. I found them on Bandcamp, actually,
yeah.
a few months back. I'd never seen them before.
I
dude,
discovered
these
them by
guys are
looking up the
sick.
name because I wanted to name a stoner metal band Lizard Wizard, and I
Yeah.
wanted to see if the name existed.
That's a good
You
name.
all
That's a good
right
way
over
to
there,
think
buddy?
Oh yeah.
I think we need. I think
I'm just
Christopher's
playing.
getting cranky.
I think we need to wrap up. Christopher's fiddling over there.
I'm not fiddling.
All
He's
right.
diddling.
Well, Greg, thanks so much
Not
for
doing
coming
it.
in.
Thanks
It's
for
been a
having me
pleasure,
on.
man. This is so much
Anytime
fun, man.
I get
Thank
to
you.
just freak out over metal, dude.
I know.
Makes
That's
me
why
so
I
fucking excited.
hand selected you,
Gets
just
me
like
so
Iommi hand
excited.
selected those notes for
Oh.
his guitar solo.
Yeah, this would have been way
Thank
less
you
fun
all.
with someone who
Thanks
didn't
for
dig
coming.
this album so much.
Yeah,
I feel like you
exactly.
definitely
Yeah.
brought the energy up, and I think you raised our points somehow. 'Cause I would have given this a 6 if you weren't here.
Yeah,
All
thanks
right.
for having me, guys.
Thanks,
no problem, man.
everybody, for listening. I am Jim Schultz.
I'm Patrick.
I'm Christopher.
And we'll see you in hell. Or maybe heaven and hell.
Good job.
It was a joke.